For those of you that don't know Jay's a hype-free social media and marketing keynote speaker, author, and consultant. He speaks more than 75 times a year to groups as large as 5,000. He started 5 companies, and he's consulted for 29 of the Fortune 500. His blog is ranked as the #1 content marketing blog in the world, and he's authored 2 books, including a recent release, Utility, Why Smart Marketing is About Help and Not About Hype. If you want to get in touch with Jay, he can be reached via his site at convinceandconvert.com. So Jay, again, appreciate the time today, and hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. Thanks very much for putting this all together. It's a cool project.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Well, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. One of the areas you focused on your line of questioning was SlideShare. I'm curious as to why you zeroed in on SlideShare, and can you talk a little bit about its value as it relates to agency new business?
I mean, the classic play, of course, is to just put presentations up there, to take your PowerPoint or your what have you and repurpose it and put it on SlideShare. That's what a lot of people do, and sort of the basic way of doing it. But you can also host other document types on SlideShare as well. You can put PDFs up there, of course. You can put Excel documents up there. You can put Word documents up there. So I've got a spreadsheet that I created of services that agencies could sell.
Okay.
That's up there for download. That's been very effective. And the other thing that's really interesting now that I think agencies can take advantage of, because, as we know, yes, people have to be comfortable with your agency's knowledge, but perhaps more importantly, they have to be comfortable with your agency's people. Right. It still is a very, personality-oriented industry, right? You've got to be comfortable with your advertising partners, and so you can now quite easily annotate your SlideShare presentations with video. So what you do is you create videos, upload those videos to YouTube, and then you can attach those YouTube videos to particular slides of your presentation. So you can mix, presentation formats with videos, which can be a very effective and powerful way of communicating. In fact, I did one for my new book, Utility. Mm-hmm. I have an executive summary of the book, and for each chapter of the book, I have a slide, but then a short video of myself kind of describing what's in that chapter. And so it's a combination kind of presentation video, and it's a neat format, and I think can kind of bridge the gap between information and humanity.
Right. Yeah, and that's important. Absolutely, humanity will forever be part of this business, and I think that's a neat idea to be able to kind of bring to life the personality and character of the agency or the individuals within it. In our survey, we found that only 20% of the people or agencies that we surveyed were actually using SlideShare. Other than some of the reasons that they provided, any other reasons why you see agencies not using SlideShare and your travels as you talk to agencies? Is it just a function of time, or is that?
I think there's a few reasons. One, a lot of agencies don't do public speaking, if you will, right? So when they create a presentation, it's for a client. It's not, and so it's client-specific information and client-specific thinking. But that can be easily modified or helicoptered up to apply on a broader level and be put on SlideShare. I think the second thing, of course, is that agencies are concerned that if they take what they know and put it into a presentation and then upload it to SlideShare, then everybody can steal that, and then they're going to give away their secret sauce. And in fact, we saw some comments to that effect in the survey.
So talk to me a little bit about the issue of the fact that agencies have concerns about kind of giving their stuff away. I know I hear that occasionally from agencies. What's your perspective on that? I think you have something on your SlideShare that speaks to that. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, somewhat ironically, I actually did a presentation about that with Joe Palizzi from the Content Marketing Institute a year or two ago, and those slides are up on SlideShare. I mean, I could talk about this for an hour, but here's my general description. A list of ingredients doesn't make you a chef. Just because you add some slides that have some bullet points about your secret process, that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody can take those slides and then do what you do. I am a firm believer that you give away information snacks to sell knowledge meals. And the other thing I've discovered after having been in the agency business, either directly or indirectly, for almost 25 years, is that if somebody is going to make a decision that, hey, we don't want to hire you because you put all this information out there, so now we can kind of figure out how to do it ourselves. That's not a client you wanted to begin with.
Sure.
And the belief that somehow your agency has this proprietary secret process that other agencies have never thought of is the worst kind of hubris.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it does agencies, I think, no good to kind of keep it close to the vest and not share their thinking and not help potential prospects. I know in your book, Utility, you speak a lot about not selling, but helping to build long-term relationships.
Right.
I guess just thinking about, maybe SlideShare specifically, how can SlideShare help build that long-term sustainable relationship by helping other, potential prospects or clients?
Yeah, I think what you're trying to do is give them the information about trends, about how business is changing, how marketing is changing, how advertising is changing. You are painting the picture for them. But then when they really want to implement these tactics to take advantage of these changes, then you're there to help them. So I kind of see it as that SlideShare and other programs of that nature kind of position your agency as the helpful, thoughtful ones. And then when they need somebody, they think of you first.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, kind of getting a little bit off topic, but still, obviously related to your book. I'm curious, what drove you to write the book Utility, and what were you seeing out in the marketplace that suggested that there was a need to help better educate agencies?
Really, two reasons I wrote the book. The first is that we've had all these changes in consumer behavior and technology and things like that, and a lot of companies and agencies are confused and concerned about how to succeed in this new environment. And so what you'll hear from a lot of consultants and speakers and authors like me is this concept of just be amazing, to just be an amazing company and do something awesome and go viral and all that. And that's very seductive advice. But I don't think it's very good advice, because the chances are you're not amazing, and the chances are you're not going to go viral. And to sell that hope, I think, is a dangerous and somewhat foolish game to play. So Utility is much more of a concept in a book about farming instead of about hunting.
You also asked some questions about LinkedIn in the survey, and I know we use LinkedIn. I'm sure we don't use it to its fullest. Talk a little bit about kind of what you see out in the marketplace relative to agencies or use of LinkedIn. You asked some questions about downloading videos and other platforms onto LinkedIn. Give me some perspective as to how agencies can better utilize that platform to help their business.
Yeah, it really is a platform. There's a lot of facets to it now. Of course, every agency should have a LinkedIn company page and should keep that up to date with what's happening in the agency, new account wins, new staff, new products and services that they're offering. I don't do a terrific job of that in my own page, candidly. But I need to do a better job. The other piece of it that's pretty interesting is the ability to really create a richer tableau of information about yourself and all the people who work for your agency. So it used to be you just had sort of that long bio, right? That really kind of looked like a resume. But now you can actually associate videos, SlideShare presentations, other document formats, photos with your individual SlideShare profile. So everybody in so for example, let's say your agency has won some awards for a piece of television that you did. Well, everybody who worked on that spot should have the video of that spot attached to their LinkedIn profile. Same thing with print work, same thing with anything else, same thing with digital work. So you can almost create a personal portfolio of work that you have done that's particularly good right there on your individual LinkedIn profile. So instead of just being a written resume, it's much more of a multimedia center now, which I think is really fascinating. And then the third piece is that LinkedIn itself is becoming a real content marketing powerhouse, and it's becoming a place where people go to actually learn and read and consume content, and LinkedIn's advertising capabilities are really unmatched if you're trying to reach a business-to-business audience. I mean, for my speaking business, I have a LinkedIn ad campaign that runs that only shows ads about me to people whose job title is meeting planner.
Okay,
Well,
interesting.
you can't do that in a lot of other ways,
Yeah.
right? There's not a lot of other options for that kind of rifle shot targeting. It's pretty effective.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's almost using LinkedIn to, we were talking about the personality and the humanity associated with the agency world. It almost seems like you might be able to carry it to that level to, present the personality of the agency.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I certainly don't see much of that. So that's it's kind of a neat way to look at it. And then finally, one other area that you asked some questions about that I found interesting, because I had never really kind of thought about the idea of interviewing prospects via things like podcast to try and, I guess, kind of get to know that prospect a little bit better.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind, just talk a little bit about kind of what you were thinking relative to that line of questioning, and how, maybe expand a little bit about like how agencies might be able to use that technique to help them.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the challenges that I think agencies have is this belief that if they're going to publish content or thought leadership, it has to be something that is A, original, B, that they create from scratch, right? And C, is so groundbreaking it's never been mentioned before. And that's a tough bar to clear. I think you're much better off combining some of that with content curation, or making somebody else the star instead of making the agency the star. I have a weekly podcast called Social Pros. Okay. And the Social Pros podcast is now a little over a year and a half old. And every week we interview somebody who is a senior director or VP of social media or content marketing from a major brand. And we talk about what they're really doing day to day, and kind of how all that works. And it's a very popular show amongst people who do social media and content marketing for a living. 100% of the corporate new business that I have generated in the last 18 months has been from people who listen to that show. Okay. Not necessarily people only who have been guests on the show, but 100% of our new business has been people who listen to that show. Okay. And by just saying, look, we're not going to necessarily create the content, but we're going to create a vessel for other smart people to be the star, has been very, very effective, and every agency could do something similar.
Okay, interesting. So it's not necessarily just interviewing the prospects that you want to work with, but it's providing other kind of maybe a little similar to what we're doing here, thought leadership content to help agencies, or help, in this case, the prospects of those agencies, improve the way in which they're doing business. So
yeah, I mean, think about it from this perspective. Just from an agency biz dev standpoint, you could cold call somebody and say, hey, we're a smart agency in XYZ. We'd like to talk to you about your business. Or you could say, hey, we have this really effective, interesting podcast where we interview marketers. We'd like to interview you on the show. Right. Which of those is an easier call to make?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
That's great.
I mean, that's, you play that out at scale, and all of a sudden you got something.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Speaking of advice, any other advice, just as we close out here, that you'd like to give the agencies listening today? Any thoughts in terms of new business, kind of where the market's going? Any perspective?
I think one of the things just to keep in mind is that what you publish online is increasingly who you are, right? It is the first way that prospects come to know you, or come to understand what it is that you're all about. Mm-hmm. And there's this belief that, our website's just okay, our blog's not really that great, but once we get them in the room, or once we get them on the phone, then we can close them. Well, if you're not putting your best foot forward out there, you're never going to get them in the room. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to get them on the phone. Right. So this sort of circumstance that a lot of agencies have, where the content marketing and the thought leadership is delegated down to the most junior levels of the agency, I think is a huge, huge mistake.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Definitely see a lot of that, or you see none of it, no content at all, which is just mind-boggling that some agencies are out there and doing nothing. So. Well, listen, Jay, really appreciate the time. I know you're a busy guy and on the road a lot, so appreciate you taking the time this morning to be interviewed, and really appreciate the time that you put into the questions that you supplied for the Thought Leader Survey. For those
my pleasure. It was super. It was a great project. I really I appreciate being a part of it.
well, thanks so much, and I'm sure I'll see you somewhere on the road sometime very soon.
Bet.
All right, you take care. Have a great day, Jay.
Take care.
All right,
See you.
bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yep.